best way to understand the commons is to feel its power, to know what it means to care for something that is part of you, but also to belong to something that is bigger than you. We live in a world that is increasingly mediated by the market. I don't think we have enough time to sit down and think and act. And I think there are other and better ways. We need more common spaces in general. This is where the value is. We have to recommon time.
We've lost so much through the centuries. You think about when we were sort of being separated from the rhythm of working with the land, when the land was enclosed, people were removed from the commons. And so that practice of doing things together, now things have become more individualized. Through commoning, we can start to remember.
I've been involved with Coexist for 2 years now, and Coexist as an organisation basically seeded the Bristol Commons, born out of the trauma of losing Hamilton House, a huge community space in Bristol that got evicted in 2018. And so kind of the fundamental part was to try and create more resilience, protect community spaces and explore things like community ownership through extensive consultation with communities around Bristol, building our collective power from the grassroots up.
It was our invitation to bring people together 2 years ago at Trinity that it got people energised and ready to jump into working groups, and supporting the emergence of that by securing funding and then providing funding and being an anchor organisation as well. Coexist being one of the founders and Diverse Artists Network.
The Diverse Artists Network has been an integral part of the Commons process, supporting artists from diverse backgrounds to be able to move ahead with guidance, to get recognized, to get paid for their work and grow in their creative journey. It's a huge connection between creativity and community. I look at creativity as a solution, a way of doing things and expressing, and therefore we will always need that within a community.
Last year I decided to do a course in printmaking. Going into that space, I saw that can be quite elitist and quite exclusive. Having my background in political ecology, geography, commoning, also being part of the storytelling group of the Bristol Commons, really connected to how a visual language can express. Just had the idea to bring people from the Bristol Commons and people that study printmaking together and use these two different practices, one that is more activist and one which is more focused on fine art, debunking the narratives that oppose the commons, translated into these prints. People understand the commons differently, and I think that's the beauty as well of the commons. It's something that is cultural, it's something that is personal and social and primarily collective.
I've been involved in the storytelling working group, and we've explored things like how do we tell the story of the commons, what kind of language do we use to make it as accessible as possible, help people recognise that there's already so many practices of commoning already in their lives. The storytelling group collaborated with the People's Republic of Stokes Croft to do a big co-created mural, and we worked with a local artist to design a process, and she invited people from the commons community to do a whole collaborative design process to basically co-design this huge street mural. Anyone from the street was invited to join and paint and add their stories to this kind of commons fabric that was all stitched together.
What I hope for from the Commons is to be with a group of people who are experimenting in new ways of making decisions that don't involve hierarchies or gatekeepers, but actually allow us to retrain ourselves to move beyond binary systems. I'm white and privileged, and that has given me enough time to look around at what might be out there that relieves the oppression that is an intrinsic part of the engine of capitalism. It's incumbent on me to work hard at doing that. When there was a call out for people to be involved in event planning for the Festival of Commoning, it was great for me because there's enough freedom for people to flow through the structure, that there was the right balance.
3 themes that we ended up having as the kind of pillars of the day were housing, music and arts, and health and care. And they were decided through a process by the events group, held a series of panel discussions and workshops that kind of fit within those themes. And then since then have held follow-up sessions.
I got involved in this festival today representing One Relation Sound System. I specialise in anything around community engagement, anything that engages the community to have these conscious shifts, but also this shift in their behaviour. So my main creative weapon and medicine is my voice. So that refers to my singing. Everything's related. We all come from the same source. We're all relatives of each other, but also every topic is related.
We have created this little ritual because, as you can see, so much has happened in the past couple of years since the movement was first launched. And today, so much has been galvanized, and there's a spirit of togetherness and of participation. This is really an opportunity for us to step in and to become the actors of our own community making here.
If you're an individual, if you're part of a group, you can join the commons. These are our shared assets. This is our city. Let's regrow it together. Let's reclaim it together. Let's rebuild it.
We are a very emergent movement, so a really exciting time. And anything that you bring and add will inevitably mould and shape what the Bristol Commons becomes.
This has got me to think how important it is to be exposed to collective experiences. This group, I think, is great at that, and I'm trying to experience it as much as possible.
Stand